In this video, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know, give you the complete guide to intermittent fasting. Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Zarowski and welcome back to the channel. Now if you're new to the channel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification, and join our notification community so I can help you excel your health and your life. In this video, we're talking about how to start intermittent fasting, the complete guide. Have you ever wondered, what's the best style of intermittent fasting to do? How often you should do it? Who can do intermittent fasting? Who shouldn't do it? Can women do it? When is the best time to exercise? There's so many questions that you probably have. What are the benefits that it even has to offer? Why should I do it in the first place? We are going to cover all of that in this video. And so what you'll want to do is stick around to the end so that you can get all this information and hit your health goals and get the results that you want from intermittent fasting. And so without further ado, let's start with the benefits of intermittent fasting. Now, when we look at intermittent fasting, the first major benefit that you're going to get is it's going to increase human growth hormone. This is powerful for a lot of reasons because, human growth hormone is associated with tissue and wound healing. It's associated with a good, healthy, functioning body. It's associated with anti-aging. We want to make sure that we're boosting this human growth hormone in order to just feel better and also, once again, look good. It's anti-aging. How powerful is that? Who doesn't want to look better, right? And so human growth hormone is a powerful benefit that the intermittent fasting has to offer. And what we'll do is talk about the most efficient and effective ways to go ahead and boost this growth hormone in a little bit here. So increases growth hormone, powerful stuff. Metabolic hormones. Now this is so important. This is one of the huge benefits that intermittent fasting has to offer is that you are going to create balance across metabolic hormones, insulin, leptin, ghrelin, weight loss. They all are going to really help you achieve this goal of weight loss. And so let's talk about insulin first. Now insulin is this hormone that when chronically high, it causes chronic inflammation in the body, causes hormone disturbances, it causes you to put fat on, it causes a lot of chronic conditions. And so we don't want it to be high in the body. Going and making sure that we're doing intermittent fasting is going to help bring this insulin level down. And it's also going to increase insulin sensitivity, which is very powerful for, all these people who have pre-diabetic conditions, which is an enormous amount, by the way, and also so many people who are suffering from diabetes. So very powerful. Leptin is another huge hormone involved here. Now, leptin is a hormone that tells our body to burn fat. Now, if we have leptin insensitivity and our body cannot hear this hormone, then how is our body ever supposed to hear the trigger in order to burn fat? Leptin is important. It's important that it's heard, and it's important that we can actually go ahead and boost this in our body, and doing intermittent fasting is going to do so. So we want to make sure that we're using intermittent fasting, certainly for those two reasons. Now, ghrelin is this hormone that tells us when we're full, okay? Once again, you can actually have an insensitivity issue with this hormone. And what happens is you start eating and literally that switch that tells you, hey, stop eating because you're full, it doesn't work. So what happens is people tend to overeat, okay? So you can see the nightmare scenario that comes out of these metabolic hormones just all being disrupted. And so intermittent fasting is going to help break this down and make sure that you're creating balance across all these different hormones, and it's going to help you lose weight, okay? That's at the end of this, it's going to help you lose weight. A lot of people are trying to lose weight, and even if you are a thin person, maybe you're trying to just get ripped and really tone up your body. Intermittent fasting supports that. Next, it decreases inflammation. Now, clinically, I see so many people who are just in chronic inflammatory nightmare, okay? We see all these cases come in fibromyalgia, just chronic inflammatory issues that are causing a lot of pain and discomfort. One of the things that happens when it comes to decreasing inflammation is that, first of all, it's going to decrease your risk of disease because all these diseases start with a chronic inflammatory problem in the body. When we look at diabetes, heart disease, cancer, those first start with chronic inflammation. But the other thing that happens is when you decrease inflammation, you decrease pain in the body. When we have a lot of inflammation, it is associated to a lot of pain, okay? So decrease inflammation, decrease pain. Next is anti-aging. I touched on this a little bit because we talked about growth hormone, but when we look at anti-aging, intermittent fasting is so powerful for it. Like I said, once again, who doesn't want to age slower? Who doesn't want to look younger? Anti-aging is so important in today's world. And one of the things that happens with intermittent fasting is it helps just balance out our hormones. First, estrogen, okay? So one of the reasons this works well is because when we decrease our insulin levels, we decrease our estrogen levels, because so many people have chronically high insulin in the body. Both men and women alike have chronically high estrogen levels. This can lead to estrogen dominant cancers in women, which is certainly not something that you want to face, okay? So we want to make sure that we're, doing intermittent fasting help with that, but it also is going to help boost your progesterone levels, because when people have chronically high insulin, they have chronically high estrogen levels, and they have a decrease in progesterone levels, which is a very unhealthy place for women. Next is testosterone. How many men are going and getting all these synthetic testosterones because, they just aren't able to boost it on their own, okay? Intermittent fasting helps boost testosterone, and it also is going to help boost growth hormone. When you boost the growth hormone, those good hormones like testosterone follow with it, which is very powerful for anti-aging purposes. So a lot of anti-aging benefits here. You're going to have an increase in energy when doing intermittent fasting. So many people are chronically fatigued, crashing all day long, can't get through the day without copious amounts of stimulants like coffee and caffeine and sugar. And so we're going to increase our energy by doing intermittent fasting, because when we look at, just fasting in general, 10 to 15% of energy expenditure is going into the gut. If we do intermittent fasting and we go and we fast for 16 hours or even 20 hours, basically what's happening is we're, utilizing that energy elsewhere in the body. We're not just digesting food all day for all the people who are just chronically grazing on anything that they can find. So if we, stop eating so much and we stop grazing, then we have more energy. You're going to get less crashes. You're going to get that metabolic hormone balance, okay? And it's going to create a sustainable energy throughout the day, because especially if you're someone who's doing intermittent fasting on the regular, you're going to start boosting ketone levels in the body, which is really powerful for sustainable energy. But you're also going to boost all these metabolic hormones we talked about. And that's powerful because when you start getting insulin fluctuating in the body and you start getting high blood sugar, low blood sugar, it creates a nightmare scenario. You just get moody, you get irritable, you're crashing throughout the day, you feel terrible. And so basically what we want to do is we want to balance out these metabolic hormones, do some fasting, increase our energy. Next here is intermittent fasting works as an incredible detoxifier. And it's important today. It's so important. The reason for it is because so many people have an onslaught of toxins in their life. I mean, in today's world, it's almost hard not to, right? We have, the fire retardants on our clothing. We have the cleaning chemicals in our home. We have the, glyphosate issue, which is becoming more and more of an issue every day. We're starting to find that more and more people are actually linking it to cancer. It's, devastating, really. And when we look at doing fasting, our body has a natural ability to detox, but because there's such an onslaught of so many things coming at us, it doesn't do it as efficiently as it should, okay? So doing some fasting allows for our body just to relax a bit. It allows our body to focus on doing some downstream priorities that it needs to take care of. One of those is just naturally detoxing the body. So fasting is good for that. Next is it improves your immune function. Okay, this is important. There's a lot of hyperimmunity issues today. There's a lot of autoimmune diseases today that are destroying people's health. Fasting is incredibly powerful. Intermittent fasting on a daily basis, but also even doing a 4-day fast, it's been found to help reset the immune system, help get things working well, okay? So awesome when it comes to your immune health. Let's talk about autophagy. This is something that a lot of people love here. Let's talk about when it starts. Let's talk about what it is, first of all. First of all, autophagy is a good physiological stress on the body. And what happens when this good physiological stress from fasting on the body hits, essentially, it's gonna start breaking down these old damaged cells that are leading to problems like cancer, breaking them down and reusing them for new ones, okay? Super powerful reason to do fasting here. Now, autophagy can start as little as 13 hours. We're thinking very healthy, metabolically sound, eating a really good diet people right here, okay? We're thinking of people who are gonna get autophagy benefits in that few of hours. It is going to be your small percentage of the population that is very healthy. Now, the other thing is that on average, it's at least 18 hours, okay? So when it comes to autophagy, on average, for the average person, it's 18 hours before you start getting any benefit from autophagy. So typically, your 16 and 8 people are not going to get the benefit of autophagy, but the people who are doing 1 meal a day can get more of that benefit. So autophagy, very powerful, huge reason to do intermittent fasting. Next is the types of intermittent fasting. I broke it down into 2 types, okay? 16 and 8 and 1 meal a day. And I'm just trying to keep it simple. There is like the 5-2 intermittent fasting method, but we're just gonna keep it simple. We could talk about just the different types and methods for about 2 hours here. First, 16 and 8 is when you're going to be fasting for 16 hours and eating your meals within an 8-hour period, okay? This is probably the most popular type of intermittent fasting that people do, okay? I poll my audience all the time and say, what do you do? Do you do OMAD? Do you do 16 and 8? 16 and 8, way more powerful here and way more popular. And so 16 and 8, once again, you're fasting for 16 hours, eating your meals within an 8-hour period. 1 meal a day is when you're essentially eating all your meals within a 1 to 2 hour period, okay? So you're gonna fast for like 22 hours and you're going to go and eat your meals within a 1 to 2 hour period. And so once again, this is another form of intermittent fasting that a lot of people love. These are two of the most popular methods that you can use. Which one is better? Well, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute because we're gonna talk about the best times to intermittent fast, which one you should do, and discuss that in a little bit more depth here coming up. Best time to exercise, okay? This is a common question as well. A lot of people are going, well, if I'm doing intermittent fasting 1 meal a day, when do I exercise? And so the deal is, when it comes to the exercise, is that the research shows, and there's a lot of evidence out there that shows that if you do a good strong exercise before your first meal of the day, you're going to get the most benefit, okay? So before your first meal. The reason this offers so much benefit is because it boosts growth hormone in a huge way in the body. Once again, a lot of research behind this. Basically what was found is that women who were doing intermittent fasting and men who were doing intermittent fasting who did their exercise prior to their first meal, they were able to boost growth hormone in women as much as 1,300% and in men as much as 2,000%. Now, in the research that I read on this, they were doing a particular type of training, and it was called high-intensity interval training. High-intensity interval training is doing a type of training that is very high intensity, and you're doing it for a short duration. So think of like doing sprints for 20 minutes or doing some type of circuit training for 20 minutes. All out, as hard as you can go, but you're only doing it for 20 minutes. And this is where they're getting these huge boosts in growth hormone, well combined with fasting. Now, you can also do strength training and get incredible benefits as well. One of the things I'll recommend, that if you're doing strength training and intermittent fasting, let's say 16 and 8 or 1 meal a day, there's a good chance that your strength can be a little bit low when you go to exercise. So using some sort of stimulant, some sort of pre-workout, some sort of coffee or something like that to give you a little bit of boost going into that exercise is going to be very beneficial. Like I said, especially when it comes to strength training. When it comes to strength training, I need that boost. When I'm doing like running or something like that, I don't need it as much. So best time to exercise before first meal of the day, okay? So, a lot of people want to get more complicated than that. Just do the best that you can to place that exercise right before the first meal, okay? If it's 2 hours before, if it's an hour before, 3 hours before, it doesn't really matter, just as long as it's before. Now, next topic here is what to eat when doing intermittent fasting. First of all, when fasting, you don't eat at all. Some people are like, well, can I just eat a little bit of this or a little bit of that and keep my calories under a certain amount? We don't want to be doing that. We want to make sure that we're not eating any food during the fast. And now, when doing intermittent fasting or 1 meal a day, I am a huge supporter of a healthy diet, okay? So one of the things I see is a lot of these young kids who are getting into intermittent fasting and 1 meal a day as a way to stay lean and, just look real good, look ripped, is that they're just eating like garbage during their eating window. I recommend that you follow a low-carb diet, a low-sugar diet, lots of healthy fats. They're satiating, they hold you over very well. And then also you eat moderate protein and no processed foods, okay? So if you're someone who's breaking your fast and you're eating things like hamburger and French fries, you are going to cause a whole bunch of metabolic issues for yourself. If you're younger, there's a good chance, like I said, there's a lot of these young kids I see doing this. If you're younger, there's a good chance you'll get away with that for a while. If you're like 30 and above, you're gonna have problems. And so don't be doing that. Stay away from processed foods. You don't wanna be causing a whole bunch of metabolic variability in the body. And the reason for that is because if you are, eating lots of sugars and lots of just processed food, you're going to fast and you're going to find your, blood sugar going up and down, and you're going to feel dizzy and you'll feel terrible. Just trust me on this when you want to eat a healthy diet. Now, if you want more information on how to eat a healthy diet when doing intermittent fasting, I'll put a link to my IF60 program that I teach below, and it has all the information that we include in this video and way more. And essentially what it also has with it is a 60-day meal plan that gives you everything you need to eat. It comes with a nice booklet so that you can actually chart how many calories you need to eat in a day and what you ate, and it gives you all the details and way more. And so, when it comes to that, I handpicked like all the different meals you should be eating. So check that out in the link below. Next is what can you drink when doing intermittent fasting? And this one's interesting. So first on our list here is coffee. Now, when it comes to coffee, you should do your best to just stick to black coffee if you want to really have coffee that bad. The reason for that is because I see a lot of people trying to get away with how much creamer and how much xylitol and stevia and monk fruit and just like what can I get away with? And the problem that I see with this all the time is a lot of people are going in and they're unknowingly breaking their fast. Okay, so when we look at coffee, really stick to the black coffee, because if you were just putting all these little things in there all the time, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt people are not getting the benefits of intermittent fasting because they're messing it up with little tiny issues like this, like putting creamer and xylitol in your coffee. So stay away from that if possible and just stick to black coffee. Next here is tea. When it comes to tea, same thing, just stick to regular tea. And teas are great. I'm a huge fan of drinking tea while fasting because they have a ton of benefits, antioxidant benefits. They have different nutrients in them, real powerful. So I like the teas. You can think like oolong tea, chai tea, Earl Grey, black tea, green tea, a lot of great teas out there, bitter melon tea. And so teas are awesome. Now, can you drink soda? Now, this is some people probably are looking at this going, soda, how could you drink soda? But a lot of people believe that you can. A lot of people are drinking like Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, these different diet sodas because they don't have sugar in them. I do not agree with that at all, because basically these are sweetened with very toxic sweeteners, I guess you could call them. They're sweetened with very toxic sweeteners that, like aspartame, that have a negative effect on the neurological system. So we want to just stay away from sodas in general. I am not a supporter of drinking diet sodas while intermittent fasting, and I think you should stay away from them. Next is sparkling water is great. Okay, it's great because it kind of satiates hunger while you're in that fasted state. It also just kind of gives you something else to drink just besides plain old water. And then apple cider vinegar. So I have like an apple cider vinegar drink that I have for fasting. You can go ahead and check that out in the link below. I'll put a link to it. Apple cider vinegar is great to have while fasting. It also is going to be one of those things that satiates hunger, and it just it has a pH balancing effect on the body, a lot of benefits to it. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description below to an apple cider vinegar video that I've done that just talks about some of the benefits it has to offer as well. Actually, I did a complete guide on that as well, so I'll put that in there. Next, moving on here, breaking your fast, how to do it. Now, when we're doing intermittent fasting, like 16 and 8, 1 meal a day, it's not as important to break your fast properly as it is to do when you're doing like a 4-day fast, for instance, okay? You're doing like a 3-4 day fast, like you have to break your fast properly. It's so important. But with intermittent fasting and 1 meal a day, it's still good to do it in a good, healthy way, okay? You don't want to slam your digestive system. Like I said, a lot of these younger kids who are doing this sort of thing, they're going straight for the French fries, processed foods, pizzas, just slamming their digestive system with that. It's going to cause issues either now or later. And so make sure that you're doing this in a good, healthy way. A nice, big, healthy, hearty salad is a great way to do it that has a balanced protein, fat, and just getting lots of nutrients from a good salad. Very good way to break your fast. Smoothies are a great way. Once again, very, very nutrient dense, light on the digestive system. So you're not just getting pounded with a super heavy, dense meal. Smoothies are really good. And then soups. I like soups too, like lots of, different vegetable soups. Once again, very nutrient dense, light on the digestive system, especially when you're breaking that fast. Okay. You basically put your digestive system to sleep for a period of time. And that's why you're getting so many of these huge benefits to the body. So when you go and you wake it back up, do it gently, not with a pizza, not with French fries, do it with something very healthy. And then next question is, can women do intermittent fasting? There's a big group of like women health advocates out there that say women can't do intermittent fasting, it's bad for you, it has all these negative effects. Let's talk about the truth here. So first of all, when it comes to intermittent fasting in women are more sensitive to hunger. And the reason for that is because women are designed to bear children. And so when your body, starts feeling, basically just starts seeing that you are hungry, it's going to really just spike these hormones that are saying, hey, get some food. It's going to be at the forefront of your mind. It's one of these things that kind of just bugs you a little bit more than it is going to bother a man. So women are always going to be more sensitive to these hunger hormones because there's a possibility that there's a fetus in there. And so their body is just doing the right things in order to protect itself. And so that's one of the things we have to consider. And so there's a few things that we can do for women. First of all, you can shorten fasting hours. Okay, so if you want to do 16 and 8 and you react poorly to it, shorten it down to 12 hours and shorten it down to 13 hours and see how your body reacts to that. Okay, what works best is what works best for you, not what works best for your friend or for me or anyone else. And so we have to take that into consideration. We can shorten the fasting hours. We can use something called the crescendo model. And basically what this means is really designed for women. And when we look at the crescendo model, it means that you're doing intermittent fasting like 3 or 4 days a week, and maybe it's every other day, maybe it's 2 days in a row, but it's basically just a model that allows your body to handle it much better. One of the things about women that you can actually start messing with your cycle when you're doing intermittent fasting. You can start messing with your sleep. You can start having some different issues. And if that's the case, go ahead and back off the hours a little bit. Use the crescendo model. And many women won't do good with 1 meal a day. This isn't across the board saying that all women will do bad with 1 meal a day, but many won't do very good with it. So take that into consideration. So if you're a female, certainly by all means, you can do intermittent fasting, but there are some variations that you might have to add in, and that is perfectly fine and perfectly healthy to do so. Next on our list is who shouldn't do intermittent fasting. This is an important topic because there's a lot of people who just see the benefits of intermittent fasting online and they go, wow, I have to do this. And well, there's some people who actually shouldn't be doing it. So let's talk about this. First of all, someone who has adrenal fatigue. So if you're someone who your nervous system is totally fatigued out, lots of stress in your life, working long hours, totally fatigued. Basically, what we want to do is we don't want to put another stressor on the body. Intermittent fasting in general is typically a healthy stressor on the body, but it's still a stressor. And so stress on top of stress is not a good thing. What I recommend is working on balancing out adrenal function, taking some sort of adrenal support. We have a good one that uses some different herbal adaptogens, which is going to help just boost up the adrenal function. I'll put a link to that in the description below here. So working on your adrenal function, working on reducing stress, working on healing your body first is going to be powerful. Next is medications. Okay, so one of the things that people fail to realize is that when you're taking a medication, you're taking something that is forcing a physiological alteration in your body. Now, when doing fasting, you're also doing this. It's in a healthy way, but when you start kind of like making these complex layers of physiological alterations, it can cause issues. So basically, you should always work with your doctor when you're going to do fasting and you're on a medication. It is very important to do so, and so make sure that you take that into consideration. Next is diabetes. Now, in general, diabetes benefits so greatly from doing intermittent fasting. It helps just create insulin sensitivity. It helps create insulin stability. It helps create stability across all these metabolic hormones, which are a mess if you have diabetes. But the problem is it's just like medication. If you're on a medication and you're a diabetic and you start, once again, creating these complex layers of physiological alterations, you can have a problem there. So you should work with your doctor. Once again, intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, powerful for diabetes, but you need to work with your doctor on it. Blood pressure, once again, same type of thing. It's just, you need to work on getting your body to regulate itself properly before you start adding in all these different things, starting with a healthy diet, starting with getting your blood pressure under control, and then going into fasting is a better way to go about that. Nursing. Can you nurse and do intermittent fasting? So this is for the women out there. Here's the deal, is I can tell you as someone who is a father of 3, my wife and I implement all these different strategies in our lifestyle. I know that this does not work, okay? I was told back in the day when, going to different educational seminars that you actually can do intermittent fasting and nursing, and what happens is it'll actually increase milk supply for the woman. Well, it actually does not. You will almost guarantee to cut down your milk supply to the point of nothing if you're doing intermittent fasting while nursing. And so you have to be very careful with that. Focus on taking care of your baby. Intermittent fasting should not be a priority at this time in your life. Focus on taking care of the baby, and then if you can do maybe like a 10-hour fast or even like a 12-hour fast, but the 16 and 8, 1 meal a day is pretty much out of the question while doing nursing. So it won't work. Same thing with pregnancy, not a healthy thing to do. When you have this fetus in your body, essentially what you want to do is make sure that you're feeding it, okay? You have to eat very often when you're pregnant. So doing a fasting protocol when pregnant is not a smart or healthy thing to do at this time. Malnourishment is another reason that you wouldn't want to do intermittent fasting. So, if you're someone who is very frail, someone who is, lacking a lot of different nutrients in your body, then you want to make sure that you're focusing on your health first. and that is, eating the proper diet, getting good nutrients in. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you go and jump into some sort of protocol that has time restricted eating, okay? Even if you're someone who has some sort of eating disorder, just be careful with all of this. And so take these into consideration when you talk about who shouldn't intermittent fast. And now let's talk about the best hours to intermittent fast. This is probably what you've been waiting for. Just talk about the best hours. So this actually is a graph that's pulled out of some research. And it's a really powerful graph because what it does is it shows you all the different hormones, what's happening, okay? This is the hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours. Let's break this down. First line right here, let's look at blood glucose. What happens when you start fasting is it dips down, starts to stabilize, but then once you get about that 13, 14 hour mark, it drops and it comes back up at a new balanced level, okay? So what we see is we go from here to here. Super powerful when we're looking at blood glucose. Next here is glycogen, okay? Glycogen is this black line. So glycogen is stored sugar in the body. Your body starts utilizing that when you're fasting, and in around the 12th hour, it shows that it's just tanking. It means that we're out of glycogen. We have to find a new energy source at this point, and it's not going to be stored sugar. So of course, it has to be ketones, right? Next here is plasma glucagon. Okay, we see that start to increase right here. Super powerful, right around like the 13-hour mark. Plasma insulin levels. One of the reasons this is so beneficial for diabetics, pre-diabetics, people who are looking to actually decrease insulin levels. Look what happens here. So we see it decrease, but then we also see it drop right around the 13, 14-hour mark, and then it stabilizes, but we have a new low there, which is super powerful. So we're seeing this happen. Amazing. Next is the plasma-free fatty acids, which is basically going to start mobilizing, breaking down that fat for energy, okay? We see that just start to skyrocket around the 12th hour here. Basically what happens is the body goes, okay, we need another energy source. Start breaking down some of that fat. So we see that skyrocket and then start to stabilize here. But then what we see happen is blood ketones. Blood ketones basically just start skyrocketing, okay? Once we get down here, blood ketones are just, cranking. And that's one of the reasons you get so much sustainable energy from doing fasting. That's one of the reasons you're able to stay lean while fasting. You're breaking down fat for energy. You burn through the sugar stores and then you start breaking down fat for energy. And it's super powerful and it has a lot of health benefits to offer to the body. Now, the other thing that people ask me, and I didn't put up here, is that how often should we do intermittent fasting? Because it can be dangerous if you're doing it too much. And the truth is it's not dangerous if you're doing it too much, but I recommend that you throw some fasting variation in there in order to actually help create good health in your body. I always refer it back to, like, if you're going to the gym and you're doing the same workouts every single day, essentially what happens is you start to plateau. And we don't want to plateau. We actually want to, always do new workouts and switch it up. And, that way our muscles are getting fatigued out and we're still burning weight and essentially getting the results we want to see. Well, with fasting, it's the same type of thing. We want to go in here and we actually want to be switching it up quite a bit, because if we're doing the same thing, 16-day intermittent fasting, 7 days a week, then our bodies are basically going to plateau. And so I recommend doing one meal a day, a couple days a week, intermittent fasting a couple days a week, and then no fasting a couple days a week. And I don't recommend even following the same schedule for that. I recommend switching it up a little bit. Once again, using that fasting variation is what I call it, in order to get and achieve better results. And so this is the complete guide to intermittent fasting, and you have made it to the end. And so now you are an expert. You can go ahead and dive in. Once again, if you're looking for more, you're looking for all this information and also a 60-day meal plan and a really well laid out book that you can chart out all your calories and what you're eating, then you're going to want to do the IF60 fasting program. It has all this great information and more. And what you'll find is that it's going to help guide you getting the results and helping you hit your goals as well. And I'll put a link to that in the description below. But be sure to share this video with your friends, give it a thumbs up. And also, if you have any questions for me, put it in the comment section below here, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. I'd greatly appreciate that. And check out my other videos on how you can improve your health. I'll see you in the next video.